Hey everybody, it's your friend and your guy and your favorite effortless YouTuber, Gardiner, the Linux Gamer. He was joking. This episode of the show is brought to you, as always, by my gracious Patreon contributors, including my top-tier Singularity members. My top-tier Singularity members get special recognition at the beginning of each video, including Matthew Irvin. Thank you, Matthew. Your support is truly humbling. This video is about Lutris. I've been asked to do a video about Lutris time and time again, and I figured, what better time than now? It brings all of your disparate libraries of games together into a single unified interface, and by golly, I just really like what they're doing. And just full disclosure, right up front, they do support this show on Patreon. Lutris is really cool, and they support a lot of Linux gaming content, so good on you guys. I appreciate your support. So yeah, I just wanted to go over my top 6 reasons to use Lutris. Number 6, it's open source. Now, I always like to heap praise upon projects that have an open source license. And since Lutris here is licensed under the GPL v3, I say, good on you guys. This is really important stuff. I mean, if we're going to be working together as a community to build something awesome like Lutris, we need to do it with open source in mind. Hey, open source. If you want to download the source code, compile it yourself, or make modifications, share it with your friends, it's available for you to do that. So there'll be a link down below to the source code, and I highly recommend you check it out. Number 5, it has a beautiful interface. Now, now if you've watched this channel for any length of time, you know that I am a sucker for GTK3 apps. I absolutely love GTK3. I think it's beautiful. I think that the design is elegant, and aside from the core GNOME apps, I feel like Lutris is one of the most beautiful, most well-designed GTK3 apps that I've seen. It's a coherent design, and it makes sense. It follows the human interface guidelines of GNOME, and by golly, I just really love this interface. And the fact that you can organize your games in a GNOME 3 GTK3 style just makes me super duper happy. I love it. Number 4, it's easy to use. Now, it goes without saying that, you want to have a video game management system that is easy to use, right? You would think that, but there are systems in place currently that don't necessarily meet that mark. Having to download a game through the web browser and then install it through an installation wizard on Linux just doesn't make any sense, because that's not how we do things on Linux. So the fact that we have a unified a system to manage games like this makes a lot of sense. You can associate your Lutris account with your Steam and your GOG accounts. You can download your games that you own, you've purchased through these services, and you can manage your libraries right there within Lutris, and that's great. But what's really interesting is that there are so many options, right? It's not enough that you have the ability to download your games from Steam or from GOG. What is really awesome is that you can download the Windows versions of games from GOG, and you can install them in any number of configurations based on what the community provides. For example, you could install the Steam version of Unreal Tournament, like the Game of the Year edition, 1999 Unreal Tournament. And then you'd be able to automatically, just by installing it through Lutris, copy over the native Loki binaries that were produced way back in the day, and you can play the native version of the game without issue. And Lutris handles doing all of that for you, and it's so awesome. And I've enjoyed the times when I've just installed the game and it works without any hassle, and that's one of the things that I love so much about Lutris. One thing that I would like to see is a humble runner. Now Lutris works on a system of runners, right? Little applications that Lutris has control over that allow you to interface with GOG or Steam or Wine or any of the numerous emulators that you can install. But one of the things that they don't have right now is Humble support. So being able to manage your Humble library from within Lutris, I just think that would be a killer feature, because of all the libraries that I have, I think Humble might be my largest. And I would love to just be able to not have to download games installers manually through the web browser. I'd rather just do it all through this interface, because you know what? I'm lazy. Number 3, Lutris makes playing your old games a cinch. Now, I could have probably tied this into the easy to use thing, but I feel like I have a lot to say about this, so I split it into its own category. So basically what it is you can take your old disc-based games, you can pop them into your CD-ROM drive or Blu-ray drive or whatever you have in your computer, if you even have optical media anymore, and you can search in the Lutris client for the installation script and install the game. Now, I'm holding this one up specifically because this is one of the games that I have installed, and if you know anything about playing games through Wine, you know that this is one of the games that does not work. It has a garbage rating on the WineDB, and the fact is, one of my friends, Citrus Alex over here, he goes ahead and he makes an install script for this, and it works, and it's fabulous. I actually was streaming it live on twitch.tv/Zondak, where I installed it live through Lutris, and I ran the game and played it for like almost 2 hours over on twitch.tv/Zondak, and Citrus Alex was there, and he was all excited as hell because I was playing his script, his installation script. And you know what? It's freaking sweet. I haven't played The Sims, the original Sims, in like 15, 20 years maybe. And the fact that I was able to play it, and not only play it, but play it on Linux through Wine, just made me super duper happy. And the same goes for any number of other games, right? You know, I have Black and White 2. I have The Sims. I have SimCity 3000. I have a ton of old video games that I have been able to install and play through Lutris, and it's just been an absolute blast. And I love the way that this works. Number 2, Lutris is community driven. So the Lutris client includes an incredibly powerful scripting language that allows anybody to write an install script for an old game. Even not so old games can have install scripts, and that's one of the major selling points here. It's one of the main ways of getting games into your library. A lot of the time the scripts will come with documentation on any prerequisites you might need, but a lot of the time they don't even need prerequisites. You can just install the game and it handles downloading everything you need for you. The fact is, there's a growing community of awesome people developing these scripts that allow you to play some of your favorite games through this client, and it just makes it so much more manageable. You know, if you're like me and you love playing like really old Windows 98 games, but you don't want to play them on a Windows 98 computer, and you just want to get them running in Wine, but you have like a ton of games, and so you need to have a way of managing all of that really simply, because let's face it, managing Wine games is kind of a pain in the ass. Just getting them to install properly, it can be a real bummer. So what I found is that Lutris just allows you to install the games really quickly. It handles so much of the headache process of installing the games, and it lets you manage them and run them from right there in the client, and I just love that. And the fact is, there's a growing community of people developing scripts that handle all of the headache part for you. So why go through the hassle of trying to install games through Wine yourself when you can just check and see if someone else has figured out how to do it easily for you and run the script and get your game going as soon as possible. I mean, that's why Lutris is so great. Not only is it open source, but it's also community driven. Number 1, it's a single library for all of your games. And so I've talked a lot about retro games, and I've talked a lot about Steam and GOG, but one of the things that I haven't mentioned is emulators. You're able to install a ton of emulated games right through Lutris. There are a ton of emulators available within the Lutris client. There's Dolphin for your Wii and your GameCube games. You have DOSBox for your old DOS games. You also have LibRetro, which has like 100 or so different cores in it that let you play all kinds of old school games. You have MES for your arcade games. You have PCSX2 for your PS2 games, and RPCS3 for your PS3 games. And there's a ton of other ones too, like Atari emulators and all kinds of stuff. So the fact is, you can put all of your retro games into your Lutris library, run them without a whole lot of hassle. You can configure them to run, without any of the front end stuff, and it just pops up in a full screen, just like the rest of your games do. I've actually had a lot of fun configuring some of my PSP games, because I'm actually a big fan of the PSP, and I've had a ton of games over the years that just don't work very well in PPSSPP, and Lutris is the first time I've had a lot of luck with the games that weren't working before, like God of War, Chains of Olympus, which was kind of a pain in the ass, and then Burnout Legends was a serious pain in the ass, because Burnout Legends, like anytime it would try to load the native PSP menu to do like stage or file select or anything like that, it just wouldn't work. But now it works just fine. That might be an update to PPSSPP. It might be an update because of Lutris. I'm not exactly sure, but I can tell you that Burnout Legends works phenomenally well, and it's one of my favorite PSP games, so I'm super glad that I can play it right here in an emulator. So yeah, that's my 6 reasons that I absolutely love Lutris. Have you tried it? What do you think? What's your favorite feature of Lutris? If you have tried it, check out their Patreon page, because they deserve a ton of support. And before I end this video, I need to make sure that I express my gratitude to the people on Patreon who have signed up over the last month. So M. Shaw, thank you for your support. Maybe it's M. Shug, I'm not 100% sure. Xanderthal, I. Sutter, and Dr. Frankenstein. Your guys' support have qualified for getting your name read at the end of the first video of the month, which technically was the last video I did, but we'll just go with this one. So yeah, if you would like to have your name read aloud, just like these guys had, then head over to the Patreon campaign and maybe hit that join button at the runtime tier. Those are the qualified. That's the tier that qualifies for this kind of shout out. So if you believe in the work I do, maybe check out Patreon. But no matter what you do, whether you hit that like button or share this video with your friends, don't forget to subscribe to see more from me, the Linux Gamer. And as always, thanks for watching.